It's time for the ending to Miles Morales' first giant storyline. The villain known as Rabble blames all of the failures within her life on Miles Morales, and due to this, she has been teaming up with various other villains to cause problems for Miles. But don't worry, Miles has made his own friends in his journey. Today we're going to be covering Miles Morales, Spider-Man 17, 18, and 19, the finale of Cody Ziegler's initial run. Here we go. In the secret Roxxon lab that she has overtaken, Rabble shouts to her drones. She can't seem to understand them anymore. She can't talk to them or give protocols. Why don't the drones just talk to me? Why can't I hear you? She mutters as she continues to work, but a voice calls out to her as Roxxon security floods into the warehouse. They shout for her to stop, but Rabble just keeps talking to the drones. Take her down! The officer shouts, the guards opening fire. Defense protocol! Rabble shouts in response, the drones actually listening, leaping into the way of oncoming bullets. You will not stop me from fixing what is broken! Rabble bellows as she rushes forward, creating her energy sword slicing through the guards. The drones still aren't acting right, but the guards have all been killed. Several of the drones buzz around Rabble's head as he tries to shake away what's wrong with her. My powers haven't been the same since my fight with Spider-Man, she says to herself, referencing her time during the gang war. She reaches for the computer, finishing the download that she has started, and she picks up the data. Leaping onto the drones, she flies out of the building. I think this is what I need to finally get away to heal my powers, and Miles Morales will finally get his, she says as she roars off into the night. Meanwhile, over in Brooklyn, Miles is working alongside Miss Marvel and Shift, his clone, to fight against the laughably bad villain Zip Zephyr. As Miles and Kamala fight the wind-based villain, Shift is moving to help the trapped civilians. He catches a car that would have crushed them, but instead of being grateful, the people run in fear at the oversized Spider-Man. Shift shakes his head, turning back to the fight, leaping in and bringing down Zephyr with one final blow. Nice one, bro! Miles says, high-fiving his clone brother. Kamala makes her hand bigger so that she can also high-five Shift. Go team and biggin! She shouts with joy. Miles checks in on Shift, making sure that he's okay after the family was scared of him. You know I always got your back, right, Shift? Miles says, and Kamala agrees, trying to show Shift how he can morph the rest of his body, making his enlarged limbs smaller and more human-like. Shift manages to change, but only for a moment. You're struggling to hold it right now, which is totally normal, but with enough practice, you're going to get used to it, she tells him with a smile, pointing out that he should only change his shape when he wants to, not to please other people. Exactly, because from where we're standing, you look just perfect, Miles tells his clone brother. Meanwhile, across town at the mayor's office, Agent Gao stands before Mayor Cage, shocked that he is shutting down the Cape Killer's team. You should be the last person that I need to convince what it's like out there, Mayor Cage, Gao says, but Luke shakes his head, explaining that since Fisk's anti-vigilante laws have been repealed, there is no need for Gao and her Cape Killer's task force. Seems like after everything went down, it's even more apparent that the city needs a team to deal with all the threats. She points out, reminding Luke that he even took part of the gang war. But Luke explains that with the laws repealed, the heroes of the city will step up and protect them from the criminals and supervillains that want nothing more than to tear the city apart. With their discussion over, Gao storms out of the office. If the brass is too stupid to protect the city, then I'll have to figure out a way to do it myself. I've been on a leash for far too long, and I think it's time to do what needs to be done, Gao says as the elevator doors close. Later, Miles arrives at Misty Knight's secret hideout, where he's gathered his friends with a new idea how to stop his villain, Rabble. Alright, here's my presentation, Miles says as he motions to the screen on the wall behind him. Why are you turning my hideout into a kiddie clubhouse? Misty asks as she looks at the gathered teen heroes. Miles taps a button showing his detective board of Rabble and the villains that she's armed with her tech, telling his friends that he doesn't want to fight her, but reason with her and get her the help that she needs. My plan is to talk to her, he says, and Starling, his girlfriend, raises an eyebrow at this statement. That's a bad plan. But Miles disagrees. While he knows that Raneem doesn't like him, he feels that he needs to help her. If there's any way to help her, then I'm going to try. We always have to try, he says, and Misty surveys Miles' board, nodding her head in approval. Not bad, newbie. Guess you've been paying attention. And how do you plan on tracking her down? Miles shrugs, suggesting that they talk to the people that she's armed. Misty nods again, turning to her junk drawer, pulling out a box of matches, tossing it to him. I think you know where to find them, she says, glancing at the matches, which say The bar with no name. Yeah, I've heard of this bar. It's the go-to for every lowlife in the city. Miles muses, and Misty nods, explaining that they have a strict no-fighting policy. Miles smacks his hands together. Ha! I can work with that. It's time for us to start being a little more proactive, Miles says as his new team turns, posing for the camera. Meanwhile, Agent Gao has found herself moving throughout the shadows, her pistol in light, coming down as a drone suddenly buzzes out of the shadows. Why are you here? Rabble bellows as she appears, Gao raising her weapon, still prepared for the battle. Heard a lot about you. I'm impressed with your work. I guess I wanted to see the other side's perspective for once. Rabble? Later, Kamala, Miles, and Shift are chasing after Rabble's drones as they buzz through the streets, chasing after the Bumbler. Why are you coming after me? Bumbler shouts in frustration, whirling and firing his honey gun. I paid Rabble for her stupid upgrades already, he shouts as he fires, but the drones easily dodge around the attack and keep coming. The honey then blasts Miles, slamming into Kamala's chest. Ah, come on! I just got a new suit and you messing up with honey? Do you have any idea how hard it is to get honey out of polymorphic adaptive cotton? She shouts in anger. The drones continue their attack, slamming into Bumbler's head, knocking him to the ground. One continues to spark, rushing forward, about to explode. Shift! We gotta take the glowy boy out! Miles shouts as he fires his weapon, grabbing the drone and pulling it away just before it explodes into Bumbler's face. Dang, Bumbler, I guess this is what happens when you get cozy with a weapons dealer who doesn't like loose ends, Miles points out, and Miles turns to his friends questioning how unstable Rabble's drones have become. Yeah, the Hobgoblin said something about her powers being wonky. I guess this is the result, Kamala points out, and Shift raises his hand, pointing out that Bumbler is haphazardly flying away. He's covered a good distance for a guy who just got blown up, Miles points out, and they all look surprised to see the drones giving chase and flying off. Yeah, it looks like they lost interest, Kamala says. They follow the bee-themed villain through the city until they arrive at the bar with no name. Do you have a plan? Kamala asks as they watch Bumbler head inside. Miles nods. I'm thinking of one as we speak, and trust me, it's really good, he says as Kamala side-eyes him. Uh-huh, sure thing, she says with a smile. But Miles leaps off the rooftop, heading down to the entrance. Don't worry, guys, I got this. They don't call me the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for nothing. Miles pushes open the door, walking into the bar, passing several low-level criminals in costume. He saunters up to the bar, stumbling over a few words about how he isn't looking for trouble. The bartender nods at him. Good, because our bar's got rules, the bartender says, but what he really peers at is the slim hero. Wait, how old are you? He motions to the sign nearby and reminds Miles that there are no minors allowed in the bar. Miles turns in disgrace, walking out. The rest of the criminals laughing at him as he leaves. Back on the rooftop, Kamala's rubbing her head. Why didn't you just say you were 21? Miles shakes his head. There's nothing friendly about a Spider-Man who lies, he points out. Reaching into his pocket, he pulls out his phone and dials Uncle Aaron. I got backup. 1 sec. Time to call in the big guns. Back at Rabble's base, Raneem is looking down on Gao. Don't know who told you I'm in the business of making deals, Agent Gao, Rabble says, but Gao shakes her head, pointing out that Rabble has been arming several different groups throughout the city. Rabble ponders this for a moment before spinning away on her drone. I'm having a hard time imagining what you could possibly bring to our partnership, Rabble tells Gao, who hesitates for a moment before following her. Legitimacy for one, a team full of criminals who are also hell-bent on taking out Spider-Man. Rabble nods, stepping off of her drone. I know all about your task force, Julia, she says, calling up hollow images of the Cape Killers. Gao explains that she believes that the heroes that protect the city are unreliable, and that they need to be reminded of that. Do I help you and you give me Spider-Man? Rabble asks, and Gao nods her head, pulling out a power-dampening collar from her pocket. She hands it to Rabble, who looks at it for a moment. I'll see what I can do. She finally agrees. Meanwhile, back at the bar with no name, Uncle Aaron has shown up as the Prowler. He orders a drink as he sits at the bar, glancing down the bar at Scorpion, who smiles at him. Prowler! Long time no punch! Mac Gargan says with a smile. Aaron stands up, asking if Scorpion wants to fight after the Hobgoblin business, but Mac shakes his head. Nah, I'm off the clock. Next one's on me. Mac offers. Aaron slides down next to him, questioning how he can get away from Agent Gao. They let me out sometimes. Must be on account of my many good behavior acts and shining personality. Mac jokes, and Prowler nods, continuing to drink, pointing out that he's surprised that Mac is even there, since he's one of the good guys now. Don't get twisted, I'm not a good guy, but I ain't all bad. Mac says as he finishes his drink, side-eyeing Prowler. Suppose I can thank your nephew for that. Aaron is surprised, but Mac explains that he heard Spider-Man refer to him as Unc during their last fight. Folks see me as nothing but muscle. Everyone except your nephew. Part of me would be lying if I said I didn't like the feeling I get from actually helping people. Mac says with a shrug, and Prowler nods his head. Yeah, Spidey sees the best in folks. It's why I'm trying to do right by him. Aaron admits, and Mac nods, laughing. Prowler's nephew is Spider-Man. Life is strange. The phone in his pocket suddenly buzzes, and Mac gets to his feet. Well, boss is calling. Guess vacay's over. See you around, Prowler. Mac calls as he heads out of the door. Moments later, the door then flies back open as Bumbler comes out with glasses. He stops, looking at Prowler in fear. If you're gonna run, you better go on and do it. Prowler says as he finishes his drink, pulling up his hood. Bumbler turns. He runs for the door. He heads down the back alleyway with Prowler chasing, slamming him into the ground, demanding to know where Rabble is. I'm a busboy at the crime bar. You think she's dropping me a pin? Bumbler asks, and blood leaks from the hits that Aaron gives him. Aaron then leans in, grabbing Bumbler's arm. You're useless, but maybe a piece of your tech can tell me what I want to know. He snaps, pulling off a piece of the gear that Rabble gave Bumbler, allowing the lame criminal to run off. Spider-Man, I got a sample of Rabble tech. Aaron says, sending the scan across to his nephew. Back in Misty Knight's hideout, Miles uses the scan to begin pinging Rabble's signal throughout the city. Thanks, Unc. We got it from here. Don't get caught napping, nephew, Aaron says as he hangs up. Meanwhile, Raneem goes to visit her father, a man whose mind is failing him and can't even remember the face of his daughter when she sits next to him. Though her own powers are failing, Raneem promises her father that she will fix everything, and that she's sorry that she can't fix him and couldn't fix their mother. Elsewhere in the city, the Cape Killers are on one of their final missions. A grenade flies across the street and Taskmaster easily ducks behind the car. Gust right behind him. Little birdie's really chirping today, huh, Gust? He says with a laugh as he readies his bow. How the heck are you so calm, Mr. Taskmaster? Gust stammers in fear, but Taskmaster shrugs. I fought Wolverine and Deadpool. This guy has a handlebar mustache and a bandana. This is light work. He says, stepping out, firing an arrow through one of the gunman's hands. Stop wasting time and bag these guys, Taskmaster, Gao says over the radio, reminding the team that the leader of the gang is able to suck energy from those with powers and make himself stronger. Hightail rushes in, preparing to stop the supercriminal, but her powers weaken as she gets closer. Almost snuck up on me, the leader says with a laugh as he grabs Hightail, throwing her into Scorpion. Gust tries flying in, but the leader turns on her and she drops out of the sky. That leaves it all up to Taskmaster, who flips over the destruction around them, tossing his shield from one criminal to the other, bouncing it off a car window and allowing it to slam into the superpowered criminal. With him temporarily stunned, Hightail rushes in, hitting him again and again in rapid succession, allowing Scorpion to rush it and slam the guy with his tail, bringing him down. Afterwards, as police and EMS secure the scene, Agent Gao orders her team to gather around. We got new orders. Taskmaster shakes his head. Are you sure about that? He explains to the others that as he understands it, with the anti-vigilante laws repealed, this team is being mothballed. The team looks at her angrily for putting them into the field when she knew that they were being shut down. Finally, Gao nods her head, reaching into her pocket, bringing out the collar that Rabble worked on for her. Rumors are true. As of tomorrow, the Cape Killers are done. But take this right here, do this last op, and I can have your sentences commuted at the stroke of midnight. Legal, legit, and squared. Mac just stares at the piece of equipment that she holds. Do you think that I'm dumb enough to put that thing on? Gao explains that the new collars will sever the mental blocks that stop the criminals from naturally hurting themselves while using their powers, which will allow them to be more powerful than ever before. So what? I run faster but can also possibly blow out my knees? What a deal, Hightail says with a shrug. Gao holds up a data pad, telling them that their final mission is to take out Spider-Man once and for all. This is our last dance, so we're gonna have to get dressed. Later, Miles is swinging across Brooklyn, trying to come up with a plan on what he's going to say to Rabble once he finds her. Suddenly, a blast of energy nearly takes him out, and Miles flips to safety to look at his attacker. By the Order of Powers Act, we are about to place you under arrest, and I'm begging you to resist, Gao says, surrounded by her new team with their Rabble-created armor. Miles' eyes widen in shock. Agent Gao? That tech, don't tell me you're working with Rabble, Miles says in surprise. He prepares for a fight, drawing his Venom Saber, but Hightail suddenly rushes at him, moving faster than ever before, kneeing him in the stomach and knocking him away. Gus hits him with a blast of wind that sends him flying. "Sorry, Spider-Man, it's the only way I'll see my mom again." She apologizes, and next is Scorpion slamming into Spidey. "I don't want it to be this way, kid," he says quietly as Taskmaster leaps in, hitting Miles with his shield. "I'm not like these other losers, Spidey. I'm having a ball." Miles falls to the ground, and Gao reveals her real plan. By giving Spider-Man to Rabble, she's going to provide a list of all superpowered criminals in the city. She gives the list to me, I put the scum in jail cells, and I keep the city safe. But none of the Cape Killers want to finish the job, so Taskmaster sighs, drawing his sword. "I guess no one else is going to step up. I'll do the honors. Hope the other Spidey don't take this too hard," he says as he prepares to strike. But Miles is biding his time, charging up his Venom Strike. His fist cracks as he leaps up, hitting Taskmaster across the face, knocking him away. Taskmaster sails through the air, slamming into the ground. Both Hightail and Gust are shocked by Spidey's power, but Mac just shrugs. "Oh, Spidey freaks pull their punches, trust me." Gao has finally had enough. Tapping a few buttons, she removes all restrictions on the power armor and collars, taking control of her team and ordering them to stop Spider-Man. Mac looks down in shock as the armor begins to move his body without his control. "What the hell are you doing to me, Gao?" he shouts. The Cape Killers all beginning to act against their own will, leaping in to bring down Spider-Man. Gust shouts for Spider-Man to watch out as she hits him with a gust of wind, and Hightail is there to kick him in the chest. "Can't say I'm not enjoying this," she admits as Spider-Man falls to the ground, wind knocked out of him. Miles looks up as Scorpion approaches, his tail aimed to take Spider-Man's head off. "Damn it, kid, I'm fighting the best I can, but this damn collar is too strong," Mac growls. Suddenly, the wall explodes behind him as a Rhino slams into Mac. "The problem with you, Goggin, your fashion choices have always been terrible," Rhino says as he knocks Mac away. Gao is shocked by Rhino's appearance until Prowler steps through the destroyed wall with all of Miles' friends. "Did you think that you're the only person who knows how to put together a team?" Kamala smiles. "You guys are so about to be beaten up." She cheers, Shift moving forward, helping Miles to his feet. "Okay, brother." Miles is shocked, but Kamala explains that she gave him a few lessons on stretching his vocal cords. "We can talk about it later, though," Kamala shouts as Hightail rushes at her, hitting her again and again, but Kamala takes the blows, punching Hightail away. The two teams leap into battle, with Gao promising Spider-Man that they're ending this tonight. As his friends begin to fight the Cape Killers, Miles then leaps at Agent Gao, demanding to know what she could possibly be thinking by teaming up with Rabble. "This is how I know you've lost your mind, Gao," he says as he kicks her away. But the fight is interrupted as one of Rabble's drones flies in, floating before Spider-Man. "We have unfinished business, and you will follow this drone to me. You will come alone, and we will end this once and for all," Rabble demands, Spider-Man looking at her image. "Am I supposed to let Agent Gao's Cape Killers do their thing?" Rabble shakes her head, initiating a command. "Overclock protocol." Suddenly, all of the Cape Killers, including Gao, are completely taken over. Their armor beginning to power them fully, their brains beginning to scream. "These people do not control their minds. I do, and they will do what I tell them until their nervous systems burn out. If you want to save them, you know where to go," Rabble tells him before ordering the Cape Killers into attack mode. The Killers rush at Prowler's team, now even more powerful and completely unable to control their actions. "Rabble, you have to stop this, please," Miles says as he watches his friends trying to survive the fight, but Rabble shakes her head. "No telling how long their nervous systems are going to last, unless you save them, Mr. Hero," she taunts. Finally, Miles agrees, leaping away from the fight, following after the drone. He follows it quickly until he lands at Rabble's hideout. He looks up to see her approaching with her energy weapons, the drones spinning around her. "Miles Morales, you have come here to die, so let it be done swiftly." "Raheem, you need to let these people go now," Miles pleads, but Rabble rushes at him. "Make me!" she bellows, the two locking blades trading blows back and forth. "It doesn't have to be like this," Miles shouts as he blocks another attack from her. "Yes, it does," Raheem bellows as she hits him again, but Miles flips over her head and grabs her, slamming her hard into the ground. "Fine, we'll do it your way," he growls, and Rabble gets to her feet quickly, her eyes glowing with power. "There's more than one way to hurt you." Back at the fight, Scorpion suddenly whirls, hitting Shift with a blast from his tail at full power, bringing the clone to the ground. Kamala rushes to her new friend's side, begging for him to get up. "I made a promise to Miles, and I'm keeping up my end of the bargain. You're gonna have to see this through to the end." She shouts at Shift, the drones beginning to whirl around her as she glares at Miles. Back with Rabble. I made a promise, Miles, and I'm keeping my end of the bargain. You're going to have to see this through to the end, she shouts, drones whirling around her as she glares at Miles with a crazed look in her eye, promising that the only way for him to stop her and save his friends is for him to kill her. Just strike here, right through the heart, and it'll all stop, Raneem says, freaking out, pointing to the glowing space on her armor, and Miles stares at her in shock. Raneem, you've gone insane, Miles whispers as she rushes at him, her drone slamming into him, knocking him to the ground. She leaps at him again, brandishing her energy blade. Die! She bellows in rage, their blades connecting, the backlash of energy knocking them apart. Rabble struggles to her feet. All your power, and you couldn't save the clone, she says, and Miles looks at her in shock as his comms cackle, and Kamala's voice comes over the wire. Spider-Man, Shift is down, he's not breathing. Miles is stunned, looking at the woman who hates him. No, he can't, you wouldn't, Raneem, he whispers, and Miles reaches up, pulling down his mask, dropping it to the floor as tears fall from his eyes. On your feet! If you want to finish this, then let's do the damn thing, because I promise you, you're never getting a better shot, Miles says as energy is crackling off of his body. He looks at her as he drops into a fighting stance, remembering what Misty and Colleen taught him. One last time. We don't have to do this! I can find someone to help you! Miles tries to talk to her, but Raneem, she shakes her head. Yeah, we do. We have to stop playing nice and see this through to the end, she tells him. So Miles nods, rushing forward, hitting her hard in the face. Bet! He growls, trading blows back and forth. As a drone comes out, knocking Miles into the wall, Raneem rushes at him, slicing forward with her energy blade, cutting into his leg, but they both stagger, exhausted from their battle. Swarm protocol, Raneem gasps, but Miles has had enough. He charges forward, slamming into the drones, breaking them, knocking them to the ground. He tries to hit Raneem with a venom blast, but she smiles, grabbing his hand, using Miles' own energy to power her suit. You've got so much power! Let me show you how to use it! As she brings his arm down to her knee, shattering him at the elbow until it feels like nothing, just jello and shards of bone. Miles screams in pain. He staggers away, but Raneem grabs him, throwing him through another wall. There's no need for screams, Miles. The machines can't comprehend that sound, but I'll do my best to teach them, for I am the envoy of death, and they will know well my works, she says, standing over Miles, her eyes crackling with the energy. She grabs him again, slamming him through another wall, but Miles twists this time, kicking her in the face and knocking her away. You've got a guy's energy and don't even know how to use it properly. Miles tries to joke, but Raneem gets up quickly. I already took your arm in your venom blast. How about your eyesight? The drones fly into the room, hitting Miles with a flashbang. Everything goes white. He's moving on pure instinct. Like the way it looks when you bleed, Miles, Raneem says as she slams into him again. Miles tries to get his bearings, but he can only see vague shapes in the room. He does know that Raneem is slamming him into the ceiling, so he grabs her by the waist, slamming her into the floor, bringing them down into the lower level. Enough of this! Raneem says as she struggles to her feet. Miles gasps for air. He's got no energy left. His arm is gone. Several ribs are broken. His breath is coming out in ragged gasps. He struggles to his feet, trying to remain calm, when suddenly he senses one of the dampening collars nearby. That's when he realizes that Gao brought the collar to Raneem to have her upgraded, and a plan begins to form. This is our last stand, Miles Morales, and I'm gonna make it count! Raneem shouts, charging at him. Miles shoots a web to grab the collar, but he doesn't hit Raneem. He attaches the collar to her. This shuts her powers down, and she stops short as her drones begin to wobble through the air, unsure of what to do. Why can't I hear their signals? Why can't I hear the machines? She gasps, demanding to know what Miles did, and he collapses. I'm sorry, Raneem. I may not be able to help you, but we'll find someone who can. He gasps, whirling from his place, kicking her across the room, knocking her out, and promising that this will all be all right. The fight is over. Miles gasps for breath as he struggles to his feet, dragging himself out of the hideout, ordering himself to keep going. Back at the fight, the Cape Killers suddenly fall to the ground. Their bodies, their minds, they're theirs again to control. Looks like Spidey did his good, Rhino says as he helps Gust and Hightail to their feet. How you doing, Gargan? Prowler says, standing over Scorpion, and Mac tries to stand but falls to the ground. Like I got hit by the Hulk. Guess I owe the run another IOU. The fight is over. Shift is helped to his feet by Kamala, severely wounded. He's already begun to heal. I can't believe you're still standing. You must heal quick like Spider-Man, Starling says with a smile. What can I say? Spider people are built different. Miles says as he struggles into the room, aided by Misty Knight and Luke Cage. Police and EMTs flood the scene, with everyone thanking Miles, who can barely stand at this point. Miles and Starling stand nearby, watching as the EMTs and police take Ramble into custody. We're going to do our best to give her a fighting chance, Misty and Luke promise. And Miles nods. Too bad Agent Gao slipped away. But the conversation is interrupted as everyone turns to see Shift fighting against the EMT's help, not wanting to go back to a lab. Lab, bad. Lab hurt. Don't take me back, he says, using his new abilities to speak almost properly. Miles rushes over to his clone brother, promising that he won't make him go to the hospital. But what if I told you we got a nurse at the family? A short time later, the Morales family is having a quiet evening, and it's interrupted as a severely wounded Miles comes into the door. Dios mio! What happened? His mother shouts as they all begin to fuss over him. I'm fine. My elbow's a little shattered and I have a couple of broken ribs, but I heal fast, Miles promised the family. There's something else, though. There's someone I want to introduce you all to, Miles says as he motions back to the door. Shift comes in, his face a warped version of Miles, his body huge, his arms oversized. He startles the family slightly. He looks around nervously as Miles explains Shift's past as his clone. But Billy, his sister, she has no issues. She reaches out her baby arms for the clone, and Shift reaches down to pick her up. Small before, big now, Shift says softly as he holds his baby sister. Finally, Miles' mom just sighs. Jeff, can you put on a pot of coffee? It's gonna be a long night. Miles looks at his clone with a smile. Well, Shift, welcome to the Morales family. And that concludes all the way up to issue 18, which is the first major arc. We've wrapped up Rabble, we've wrapped up the Cape Killers, we've wrapped up Shift joining the group, and we've even got a little bit of a team going on for Miles. Obviously, the story's going to keep going, but this is the finale to everything that was going on in the story as it stands. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time right here.